Welcome to the Misfits Boyz podcast, where hockey and hilarity collide in spectacular fashion. My name is Cheyenne Goglis, and I'm the moderator, moral compass, and sometimes referee of the show. I am joined today by...
Mikey B, second person ever to order the salmon at a bar.
Hey, it's Armando, a.k.a. number one stunner, a.k.a. the boss. Wait, this is Jeff.
Forgot El Jefe.
And of course myself. Gentlemen, start your beverages.
Having a little trouble. What?
Technical difficulty with your trigger finger there, Mike?
Just a little.
Yes.
Find the hole.
Don't worry, happens
Find the hole.
happens to a lot of guys, man. Don't worry about it.
Especially after your third or fourth whiskey. So yes, we are devoid of Armando tonight, unfortunately, due to scheduling conflict. He had to do a work thing rather than a podcast thing, and we're going to try to do our best to carry on without our head misfit here. So, Mike, what do you got over there in the beverage department?
Well, I am drinking the V-Twin Vienna-style lager this week. And just like you said, out of Braden Tucky, it's very good. I got nothing bad to say about it, that's for sure. A few sips in, and I'm feeling it. It's
pretty good. Motorworks, for the first beverage I've tried from there, very good. I know they have a couple others.
I like the can.
Might have to bring.
I might just want to keep the can.
It is
a
nice.
Good can appeal.
Yeah, it's a good can. Put it on my shelf.
It is a nice looking can. It doesn't look as good as the emergency drinking beer, which I happen to be drinking again today with its bright yellow.
You've been having a lot of emergencies
can with
lately.
the bold black printing.
Yeah, we are constantly breaking glass.
I need a beer. Oh, wait a minute. We have another fridge. Oh, got to drink this anyway. And what do you got over there, Hunter?
I have returned to the Shock Top Sunset Orange.
Limited release.
I think has... I'm going to go to Total Wine tomorrow and buy out all 6 cases.
No, hell no. You better not. I'll be pissed. I'll know it was you because I'm going to go back by the weekend and be like, we're sold out. I'm just be like,
well, now I got to do it now.
That's the first thing he's going to do tomorrow morning. You're going to be working.
I'll be in your damn fridge. I'll be in that garage.
Yeah.
He will climb that hill of a driveway.
It's going to be a sad Christmas tale. Mike's going to have his face pressed up against the glass, just looking in. Please give me some Sunset Orange.
Not going to let that happen again.
Again, he says.
Again.
Yeah.
The operative word.
Well, speaking of missing, this past Sunday's league game, I was missing because I was at work. And then, Michael, you were gone because of reasons?
Yeah, basically had family in town, so don't get to see them too often. So just had to spend a day with them, and it was an early game. So we were, out and about, and missed 2 weeks in a row now, feeling retirement. But... 2 weeks. I'm
coincidentally,
off,
we happen to win both of those games.
2 win streak. So I don't know. It's looking pretty good for me right now.
Well, last week's
all
game,
signs are pointing towards retirement.
You might get let out of your contract early?
I think so. I might just get pulled out. I'd appreciate that.
last week's game I was party to, but this week's game I was not because I had to work. And the only person at this table who was at the game was our illustrious Jeff Hunter, who assured us that it was a spectacular display of Misfit's skill and speed.
It was. It was domination. Without Josh, who we've mentioned before on this podcast as being Das Ubergoalie, without him, we would have hit 10 goals. I think.
Wow.
We spent the entire time in the offensive zone. We sort of slowed down a little bit in probably the last 7 minutes of the third period. And Bob Bigley,
Little Rob,
making his presence felt there, definitely bailed us out.
Nice.
At late in the game when we got, I think, maybe a little too tired. But it was a great game. Great game. It was one of those games where I think we were up 1-0 at the end of the first period. I kind of was shocked that it was only 1-0 because we spent the entire time just peppering Josh with shots in the offensive zone. So great game. We look to continue it in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We are off for the holidays.
Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve.
We come back January 7th.
And no doubt, all of us will be rusty, and I'm going to have to miss that game. I'm going to be working that day, talking about the game. But unfortunately, I'm going to be missing the game on the 7th because of my rotating work schedule. So that'll be 3 weeks without league. But I do intend on playing whenever pickups I can during the week to stay on point. But unfortunately, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'll just be off the ice until January 7th. not gonna try.
He's not gonna make any excuses.
Not even gonna try. Yeah.
Well, we did. Cheyenne and I did play this morning.
Oh yes. The
sneaky.
Arma's private pickup at Clearwater. I gotta say, it is probably my favorite pickup to play in because there's such a mix of good players. And there's some players who aren't like, primo, but they're not beginners either. You know what I mean? There may have been guys who hadn't played in like 8 or 9 years, but they're getting back out there. And you could tell that they used to be able to skate really, really well. One of the first times that I played there was before they had the new sheet of ice, the pro rink. It was on the old sheet there at Clearwater. I think it was Father's Day. I can't remember. It was a Sunday morning. I do know this. And it was a light crowd, but there was this one guy who looked vaguely familiar. And he kept skating in on me, and as he was skating in on me, everybody else would drop back. And he would just skate on me fast as lightning, tick-tock, boom, gone. Goal every time, 3 times in a row. I'm like, God, this guy's fast as all get out. I can't even, I could do nothing to stop this guy. And then I found out later it was Dmitry Asfensatekov from the Lightning's Stanley Cup team. He's retired and he lives in the area and he sometimes shows up at their pickup. And he happened to show up that day that I was in net and just absolutely totally made me look completely ridiculous. And after I found out who it was, I'm like, well, I don't feel that bad. And I know that he was probably skating at maybe 30%. But it was just like I felt like all of my goaltending skills had been just taken from me. Like Austin Powers, his mojo had been totally stolen from him. My mojo. There's a vial on the bench somewhere, and I couldn't get to it. It was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. The silk hands he had. But once I found out who it was, I'm like, oh, okay. But we were there this morning. I think I played pretty well. The other goaltender, Peter, he had bought pads secondhand. They were Vasilevsky's old pads from last year. And he was flashing some heavy leather, but I thought it was a good session. It's always fun, and they always rotate after like 5 goals have been scored against one team. They rotate. Arma tries to balance the teams. It's difficult.
I thought teams were very even. I think every game came down to 5-4. I think. Like it was real close, real good skate, real good pace.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun. A lot of good little snapshots. We got a couple of kids who are out of school who showed up, and I gotta say, for any out of any pickup in the entire Tampa Bay area, I challenge any of them to try to emulate the defense that I see during these pickups. Because honestly, it's like playing a full game without referees. And people are usually very respectful. There's some hack and slash, but a lot of these guys have been playing together for years. At this pickup, they play 3 times a week. They all know each other. They all hang out different times, whatever. So there's a lot of camaraderie. There's a lot of, it's just a great skate.
We did have the young guns getting a little chippy, I think.
Yeah, just every now and then one of the bulls comes in and just says, "Hey, knock it off." Yeah. And
I was there. My first experience with Arma, and only one so far was a few Sundays ago, and I walked into the locker room. Everyone was under the influence of something other than beer, and I was not expecting to walk into something like that. I was like, basically, where's Peterson at? And he wasn't there. So it was pretty interesting, to say the least, but fun skate nonetheless.
I don't know what they do on Sunday mornings, but I usually play Tuesdays and Friday mornings, and a number of them have to go to work right after. Yeah. So I'm sure there's a fair amount of partying going on at various times, but definitely one of the best pickups in the area. It's invite only, and they do that just to try to, kind of retain a certain composure or mood there. So you're not getting cowboys coming in and slinging pucks like they're the last gunslinger and that kind of stuff and what have you. It's always a fun skate. It is competitive and one of the best pickups in the area, and I would take that over any pickup anywhere.
Absolutely.
So this past week, there's been a lot of rumbling, and it's only not even quite halfway through the season, We talked about possible Seattle expansion last week. But this week, we have the news that Ottawa owner wants to maybe relocate his team. And then the Islanders just talked about leaving Brooklyn to go back to Nassau County, which is essentially the next county over on Long Island, but going back to their roots, going back to from whence they came.
Yeah. And two, I think very, very different reactions. I think everybody thinks that the Islanders should go back to Nassau County. That's where they belong. The Barclays Center in Brooklyn is widely reviled in the NHL for having the worst possible ice you can have.
Not only that, but the seating as well.
And
once you get up higher.
It's not an arena designed for hockey. I think everybody was surprised when they went there in the first place. And everybody acknowledges that, they're not drawing a crowd there. Nobody really wants them to be there. Everybody would be very, very happy to have them go back to Nassau County, even in the Coliseum, which I think had a renovation.
Which they did. They played a preseason game there, and it was a great turnout, fully packed out. Good to see hockey back on Long Island. I guess I didn't think there were that many Islander fans, but they were there.
Yeah.
And that's coming from a Ranger fan. But it's good for the rivalry, of course. And not to toot my own horn, but the only reason the Islanders are getting this Belmont Park site is because the Rangers shelled out some cash of their own to keep the rivalry alive.
Yeah.
And
I think this definitely helps their chances of keeping Tavares.
Absolutely. That was next.
Because one of the things that I think was up in the air with him was, is he going to re-sign with a team that doesn't know where it's going to be playing?
Right.
And now it looks like they're going to be moving back, and
that is
more likely to stay with the team that
that has to be number one on their agenda now, for sure. Once they've secured that location, they have to get that guy signed, because without them, they are going to be lost.
And we talked last episode about how Drew Doughty and Erik Karlsson, they talked about testing free agency, which is one of the things. It was one of the reasons it was shocking was because nobody tests free agency in the NHL. I mean, who was the last big free agent who changed teams through
Kevin Shattenkirk? Just
well,
recently.
I wouldn't put him up there with
elite status.
Karlsson.
Well, no.
I mean, to me, it was probably Yager. Like when he went to the Capitals.
Yeah. It's definitely been, that marquee name you're looking for. It's been a long time.
I mean, somebody who is unquestionably, top 10.
We almost had Stamkos a couple of years ago.
And he made it
last minute, July.
He made it to free agency. He made it to the free agent period. Yeah. And then, the first day of free agency, he resigned with the Lightning. So, I mean, he technically made it there, but I don't think, he was
kind of makes
really
you think, was he just messing with everyone the whole time?
Probably. He got his $10 million a year,
nope.
right?
No, he's got 8.5 years, 8.5, same as Victor Hedman. Took a hometown discount, which you don't see too often, and it's really helping the team out. It's only a couple million, but a couple million through a couple players adds up to another quality player.
And now It's looking like the cap is going to really start going up the next year or two. And so which is good. All the more. Maybe you sign another team. Maybe sign another player and create a.
Well, they need to re-sign Kucherov, I believe, in another year or two.
They're going to need.
He's on a nice discount as well.
Yeah, honestly, I admire teams and players who say, you know what, maybe I'm worth $10 million a year, but I'll take $8 million a year because I want to play with these guys. I believe we can get a Stanley Cup. I want to keep this core together, or we want to add somebody to this roster. I like that there's that kind of conversation going on. That's within the ownership group. I mean, clearly, Vinnick wants to have a championship team there, and who else knows how to run it than hockey guys? So he's leaning on Yzerman to get the minors players signed and into the system and that kind of stuff, and also getting the main roster of the Lightning in ship shape. And if there's guys that, hey, you know what? There's one guy over here. He's got a year left. Can we trade or get his contract or try to get him over here? I think he'd be a real good fit with us. This, that, and the other. It's nice to know that not only is it an open conversation. It's like, look, we can only afford him if we free up some space in the cap. And the guy's like, look, let's just take some for me. I'll throw money into the hat. I believe in this team. I believe that we're the closest we're ever going to get to a Stanley Cup. You can spend the rest of your career trying to chase money, but to get a Stanley Cup, it takes a special mix of not only players with skill, but a chemistry in a locker room. And that is what separates the true champions from the rest of hubris out there, because you can have a room full of skill, but if they're not clicking and they're not talking to each other, nothing's going to happen.
Absolutely.
And on the flip side of that, Ottawa.
Yeah, they.
We talked last episode about Erik Karlsson saying that he wasn't going to take a hometown discount, that he was looking forward to seeing how high he could push his number in free agency. And Ottawa did not seem to take to that very kindly. Immediately after that, there was reports that Ottawa had asked Erik Karlsson for his no trade lists, which was 10 teams that he could not be traded to, indicating that they might be considering trading him.
Well, it was not only him; it was literally the entire Ottawa team.
Yeah,
it's insane.
And
never heard of such thing.
But still, I don't think that comes out if he didn't didn't make the comments that he made. I don't think that comes out. And then on top of that, I mean, so you get the indication there, the Ottawa organization and specifically the owner, Eugene Melnyk, not very happy with Erik Karlsson. Well, Eugene Melnyk came out and said, sure, I'm considering, I'd be open to relocating if necessary. And that is when Ottawa is in the midst of attempting to secure a new arena. Their current arena is only like 45 minutes, an hour outside of Ottawa. Nobody goes to the games just because it's incredibly inconvenient to get to the games. But he sort of is making these threats saying, oh yeah, I'd be willing to, leave Ottawa, coming on the heels of him being kind of pissed off that Erik Karlsson would say that, yeah, I'd be willing to leave Ottawa. Very ironic considering Eugene Melnyk a couple of years ago was sick and went out to all of Ottawa saying, hey, I need a liver transplant. Would you be willing to help me out? If anybody has any leads on a liver, hit me up, DM me on Twitter. So it just, very, very, very self-serving.
Showing his true character.
Absolutely. I mean,
Did he get his liver?
He's still kicking, so I assume he did.
Well, the liver's a very resilient organ, as I know very well, but I don't know if he got a new one.
I don't know why he needed a new one.
Maybe he just wanted a second one.
I just remember the very, very gross, scenario of him asking for a new liver, but whatever.
If you guys are listening, I need a new liver too. So if you want to donate one, you can go to our website, misfitboys.com, and click the donate tab.
With a Z.
With a Z.
Not going to bring you anywhere, but.
No, we're just doing some pre-planning.
Yes.
Because I'm sure if
you want to practice,
need a new liver.
Put it in a cooler with a 6-pack.
Shock top sunset orange, preferably.
If you can find it.
Which would be appropriate that the liver should be introduced to shock top orange before it gets put into your body.
Yeah, well, that's like a ceremony. It's the Viking funeral. Lighting it on fire. But yeah, so that was the big news, was that he was open to relocating. It just goes to show you that, we talk about hometown discounts, and I think that's you probably think it's great when it's your team and the player is taking a hometown discount for your team. But with pretty much everybody else, get your money, get paid, do whatever you can to do that, especially when you're in a scenario like Karlsson is, where that team looks terrible. They don't look at all like a team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last season. Does he want to spend the next 8 years in Ottawa with that team? A team that looks absolutely terrible. It looked like it just had this sudden burst of brilliance.
No, he wants to go to the Pittsburgh Penguins and play with Sidney Crosby and everyone else. And for everyone, that's where Bettman brings everybody. Unfortunately,
I kind of wish we did have video, because you could see Hunter's head just sink into his pop filter on top of his mic.
It's destiny. I mean, one way or another,
in despair and disgust.
It's going to happen, people.
I'm just waiting until the Chicago Blackhawks get out of another terrible, they get out of Jonathan Tay's contract with he has some sort of weird bubonic plague, something some sort of weird IR disease, and it's he's on long-term IR, or he'll do what all bad contracts to do and get traded to the Coyotes and be dead money on their cap, a la Pavel Datsyuk or I think Chris Pronger ended up there.
God,
After he'd been out of the league for 3 years, his contract went to the Coyotes.
That's a fate worse than death. I don't know. I think I'd rather go over to Europe or even Russia and play hockey than go play for the Coyotes right now.
That's exactly what Datsyuk did.
He chose wisely. Did he want to play?
Knew he was retired
in Murmansk, or did he want to play in Phoenix?
So with this relocation, I have to ask. Okay, so Canada seems to have a very checkered history with their NHL teams. So they lost the Winnipeg Jets to Atlanta, who then moved over to
back to Winnipeg.
Back to Winnipeg. I guess Atlanta lost their second franchise, but that was a relocation return, right? The Nordiques left; they became the Avalanche. Where did the Coyotes come from?
No, they were an expansion.
They were expansion.
Yeah.
So the two teams that left.
I think Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg might have folded. I don't think they went to Atlanta. I think Thrashers were an expansion team.
Yes, Thrashers were. You're right. Thrashers were expansion.
So I think Winnipeg, the original Winnipeg team.
I thought Winnipeg moved.
No, I think I'm pretty sure they folded because they were a WHA team.
But they were part of the NHL. The NHL is very just like MLB, Major League Baseball. They don't like to lose franchises.
Yeah, maybe I honestly I couldn't tell you. I don't remember at all where they went. Like I know the Dallas Stars, they were the Minnesota North Stars, but I think they might have been in there with the was it the Oakland Seals? That was a team that also folded, I think.
Okay, I think so. We might need to edit this out. All right. Just to do a history thing.
Cut for Googling now.
Original Winnipeg Jets, 72 to 96. But eventually went to Phoenix. The Jets went to Phoenix, yes.
Oh, wow. I thought they were one of Gary Bettman's Sunbelt expansion franchises.
Yeah, I would have thought so too, but I knew that two of the teams moved. But I thought that the Jets went to Atlanta, but Atlanta was awarded the expansion to make up for the loss to the Flames.
And then Hartford went down to Carolina,
right? I think so. Yeah, but that's New England. That's not Canada, but they did move further south.
And that's one of the things we're talking about: relocation and expansion. A couple weeks ago, the big talk was about Houston. That Houston, they were all of a sudden the owner of the Rockets. He was interested in becoming an NHL owner and bringing a franchise to Houston, which, okay, I mean, we talked about Gary Bettman's Sunbelt expansion that happened in the mid-'90s.
Right.
I mean, hasn't that been mostly proven a failure?
No. Vegas. Look at Vegas.
Well, no, Vegas is doing great.
Just recent. Yeah.
Tampa, we've done very well. We've done extremely well.
Florida, Phoenix, Carolina, even though Carolina is apparently going to stay there as part of the ownership deal that they worked out recently.
Well, what about San Jose? They've done well.
Yeah, they've done well. I don't know what their attendance numbers are like.
Yeah, I don't know either. But I mean, they're a decent team. Yeah. They're obviously funding a pretty good payroll. They always seem to work their way into the playoffs and that kind of stuff.
But I mean, you look at Atlanta. They moved.
Yeah, but Atlanta, you know what? As I was talking about in the Savannah episode, there's not a lot of hockey around there in the South to be speak of at all whatsoever. The only ice that was in Savannah was they would put a sheet of ice down for this collegiate weekend tournament, but that was it. They don't have hockey established in Georgia at all. And in Louisiana, the Tulane Green Wave, their hockey team plays 2 hours away at an ice rink. I think in Baton Rouge or somewhere around there. There's no ice in New Orleans. And New Orleans is a pretty big city. You would think that they would have an ice rink there. But I think it has a lot to do with, just the following and the support structure of having a hockey.
I think it has to do with what other teams do you have in the city. Because we were talking, Vegas is doing great. I think there was a photo that was I saw on Twitter last Saturday, of the Knights practice facility being packed, being standing room only.
Every
because
game.
People wanted to be just at the practice, on a Saturday before Christmas, the week before Christmas, you had people there, which is great to see. It's great to see. But you got to say, they're the only game in town right now. What happens when the Raiders get there? What happens if the NBA decides to expand there? What happens if, the Oakland A's end up moving there for
And what happens if they start losing?
Yeah, and then what happens
that's
when they're
another
not
thing.
good. But you
Is it a bunch-
can say that about pretty much any team. Outside of half a dozen franchises that are always selling out the arena no matter what. I mean, you can say that about pretty much any franchise.
The only thing that Vegas has got going for it, other than that the hockey team is the only game in town, is that the town itself is from everywhere else. Vegas didn't exist until the casinos started popping up in the middle of the desert. So everybody who's in Vegas, for the most part, they're from somewhere else. It's kind of like here in Florida. Everybody else is from New York, Michigan, Philadelphia. I'm the only Florida native in the room. Even when Armando is here, he's from Chicago. You're from New York. You're from Philly. It's hard pressed to find a Florida native here, just because so many people move down here and then they start families. But people who move here far outweigh the people who are actually raised here. Vegas, the same thing. People move to Vegas.
Yeah, it's a very transient population.
It's a very transient population, and I think a lot of people there are used to seeing hockey in different locations. Like, oh, I get to see hockey here. I can see my Red Wings here. I can see my Dallas Stars or whatever. And it is a local hockey team. It's our team, so we'll support them as well. So I think that was actually a pretty smart move. At first, you're thinking hockey in the desert, but it was a smart move because of the transient population. Everybody being from somewhere else, I think it works. As far as Houston, I would say, I don't know. I think that's more of a gamble than a Vegas hockey team.
Yeah,
just because they have the Rockets, because they've got the Astros who did really well this past year, and then the Texans.
The Texans, yeah.
So you've got all the major sports there. Without hockey supporting in the infrastructure, if they don't have at least two sheets of ice there where people are playing hockey, they have nothing. They're not going to really have anything to.
And I think that's the worry about Seattle. I think is because they have the Mariners there and they have the Seahawks there. So whatever potential franchise for the NHL we're talking about is going to be the third franchise in, but they lost the Supersonics a couple years ago. And now, the NBA wants to get back into that market eventually, because when the Thunder moved from Seattle to Oklahoma City, they left all their history in Seattle. So any franchise that goes back to Seattle would be picking up all the old Supersonics history and retired numbers and all that stuff. So you got to say, like, what happens when what happens when the Supersonics move back to Seattle? Because you only have, you guys know, you only have so much disposable income to go to a game.
Right.
You're a hockey fan or a basketball fan or a football fan. You can only go to so much stuff, So you have to wonder which cities can support that. What cities can support going to a hockey game.
That's a good question.
Technically, which for the most part, if you're in a city with four, sports franchises, for the most part, hockey usually comes out third or fourth. Like generally a football team or a baseball team or even a basketball team is going to be above a hockey team.
Unless you're a hockey fan.
Unless you're a hockey fan.
The majority.
Yeah. And for me, I'm from Philadelphia. Flyers are always going to be the team that I want to go see when I'm in Philadelphia.
Of course. Absolutely. I think with the Seattle situation, there would be Sonic fans that would be, willing to watch hockey because hockey has more support up in the north. There's a lot more hockey close by.
And Seattle has a very good reputation for supporting some of the maybe less popular sports. We talked about when we talked about relocation last week, we talked about the Seattle Sounders, which is the MLS franchise, where they sell out every single game there. So it looks like Seattle can definitely support another major franchise. Can they support both an NHL and an NBA franchise? I think is maybe the question there.
I think so. Basketball fans are basketball fans. You're never going to shake them away from their sport. And I like basketball in passing, but honestly, I'll watch the last 2 minutes of the game and be completely satisfied.
To me, that's the worst part.
That's about a half hour long. Is the last.
It's like 30 minutes long. The last 2 minutes of a basketball game.
The only basketball game that I've ever attended and watched from start to finish was a Harlem Globetrotters game, and I have to say that I was entertained the entire time. So
I'll see a Globetrotters
God bless
game all
them
the time.
and whatever league that they're playing in. Harlem Globetrotters, definitely check them out when they're in town. But as far as Orlando Magic team a game, I used to watch it on TV when they first expanded.
Lay some money down on the Washington Generals.
I never had the impulse to go to Orlando to watch a basketball game at all. Never.
I've been to a couple Magic games. I don't think I've been to one at the new arena, but the old arena I've been to a couple there. Mainly to see non teams that were not the Magic. See LeBron with Cleveland, something like, or see Allen Iverson with the Sixers, something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's, obviously I don't think any of us are basketball fans.
Nope, never been to a basketball game. So.
No. I
used to play in high school, but
you're tall enough that I bet the basketball coach
I was good 4 or 5, man. But
I'm sure basketball was never really my sport, but I was always actually very aggressive with the rebounds, and oddly enough, defensively, I would play well. As far as shooting that kind of stuff, I'd rather dish it off, and I'll take a shot, but it's not going to end well.
Yeah, and I like playing basketball. I wouldn't say I like watching it.
Yeah, no, I would totally play basketball.
For sure.
Like if we just picked up, like if it was a Sunday afternoon, and you guys said, "Hey, let's go play some basketball." Like, yeah, sure, we'll go play 2-on-2. No problem. Go get a nice little workout and do something a little bit different. Yeah, I do that. Like, hey, let's go watch a basketball game at the bar. No, I got stuff to do.
And similar with baseball. I never watch baseball on TV. Maybe the World Series, as long as it's not on too late. But
I've slept to it.
I've fallen asleep to baseball.
Usually by the 5th inning, it's
but
solid.
Going to a game, like you and me, we went to a game a couple months ago.
Yeah,
that was a blast.
Yeah,
and we're here in Florida in spring training territory. I always go see the Phillies. They're real close by. Always go see them. When they're down here for spring training. It's fun to go see a game in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I wouldn't say it's necessarily good to watch on TV.
No, baseball. No. They say hockey is difficult to watch on TV. I disagree. I think baseball is hard to watch on TV because there is such a lack of action. And it is a skill game. It is a strategy game. There's, and the baseball purists will sit there and tell you that the best baseball game is a 0-0 game because it's a pitching duel. The pitchers are trying to get the ball past
almost as hard as Dizzy Bat.
Boring.
That pitching, it's a lot different.
I don't know. To me, Dizzy Bat is as much fun to watch as it is
Michael?
to play.
Almost as hard.
It now?
But yeah, baseball games I would go to a game and watch a game, but I will never watch one on TV.
It's so tough, and it's so tough, especially during the summer when there's absolutely nothing else on. If I'm in the car and I'm driving from place to place, I'll turn on the game just to hear the score, hear an inning maybe, and then turn it back off because I can go catch up with the box score later. But I grew up loving baseball, but baseball turned its back on me back in '94, and I've never forgotten that. So I came back hesitantly as a baseball observer more than anything, and I've got a Rays jersey. It's fun. But I just never, ever got back into baseball with the same amount of fervor that I had before. Hockey had completely taken up all of that space in my heart, and I regret nothing. I regret nothing.
That's good to hear.
How about, real quick. I think we all agree that the best in-person sport is hockey,
Agreed.
Which even non-hockey fans say it's great to see a hockey game in person.
Yeah.
What is the worst in-person sport?
Golf.
Hell no, golf is also
when if you're playing.
No, in person when as in you're attending.
No. In person is you're watching.
Watching on TV.
No, golf is. I love watching golf. I love going.
I'll say football.
On TV?
No. Football.
Going live to a game. Live to a game.
Depends on where you're sitting. Getting closer to the field definitely changes your attitude toward it, but the prices are prohibitive unless you happen to be a USF Bulls season ticket owner and you can pretty much go anywhere.
Do you know anybody?
I happen to know 2 of them. Yes.
Oh boy!
And, we have a lot of fun taking the kids. We have 2 tickets, so we'll alternate depending on when I'm working and what time the games are and that kind of stuff. Like Steph will take Emma or she'll take William and then I'll take the other one. We kind of just, change it up. And then of course we'll go to a game or 2 ourselves. But our tickets it's all lower bowl. There's no tickets up top for the USF. It's just too big of a stadium. It's way more fun to go to a USF game than it is a Bucks game because every Bucks game we go to is usually up top. And it's not like hockey where in hockey I can appreciate watching the play develop and it's fun and I have a great time spending $20 on a ticket and $20 in beer and have a great time watching hockey from up there. But it's not that as far as it is with the NFL. You're so much higher above the field at a football stadium. It really detaches you from the game, when you're watching USF Bulls play in a lower bowl, you're actually in the game. You're actually paying more attention because you're a little bit closer to the action.
And I think part of the reason why I dislike football as an in-person sport is because it's so good on TV. You know, like it's great to watch football on a 70-inch, high definition TV. And then when you go in person, it's like, this is all right.
You know? Especially if you go to an NFL game, it is expensive to park. The tickets are expensive. The beer is expensive.
And that's
it's
a big
hot,
part of it.
Usually,
especially here in Florida.
I'd have to say
August to October games are brutal.
Probably tennis or something like that would be boring as hell.
Yeah, I've never been to
one, but it's boring on TV. It's probably boring as hell in person. I've been to a football game. Love going to football games. Never been to a basketball game, but I imagine that wouldn't be too bad.
It wouldn't be horrible. I probably wouldn't be a season ticket holder, but like
baseball is a lot of fun.
That's one of those sports where you absolutely have to be close to the court to really get an appreciation for like how tall those guys are and how fast they are. Like when you're in the upper deck, it's like whatever. Like it's just like watching a game on TV. You don't really get an appreciation for the athleticism.
Yeah, I agree. But I would personally think that I've never done it, but going to a golfing tournament or one of those PGA deals or whatever, and you're not playing, but you're following a player around
awesome.
as they're hitting the little white ball and chasing it.
And you've been to tournaments.
I've been to tons. Yes,
Yeah.
I've been to Valspar. I've been to PGA Championship.
What is the way to do it? Do you stake out a hole or do you?
No. What you do is you plan out who you want to see. And you find out their tee time, and then you go like basically a hole or two ahead to the greens, because like if they have guys in front of them that are not really big names, then they're not drawing a big crowd, so you can get a nice up close view, because then you're right there. And then when these big stars, Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, when they're coming up, I mean, you cannot see anything but people. Everything is covered.
Yeah.
And so you definitely want to plan ahead if you're trying to see a big name player.
I guess my only other question with spectating with golf, which I've never done, do you have to bring your own rolling cooler, or do they provide them there at the golf course?
There's plenty of beer stands there.
Yeah.
So
you don't have
don't worry.
the hat.
I got the I don't have that. I got the umbrella hat. It's because you're never in the shade. That's what's the rough part about it. 4.5 hours in the sun in Florida is
not hitting a golf ball.
It's rough. Yeah.
Have you been playing recently?
I have not. Actually, I played 2 Saturdays ago and played like shit. But once I finish that taco challenge, I'll be there all the time.
What are you hitting? What are you hitting with driver?
Golf balls.
You don't want to know. If that. Sometimes it's just grass or a tee. You don't want to know what I'm doing sometimes.
We'll see how that works out as a second career after you retire from hockey.
All right. Well, very big event happened this past week, and we absolutely, positively need to talk about it. But before we do, we have to warn our listening audience that if you have not seen Star Wars The Last Jedi, you need to turn this thing off right now, because we are going to spoil the hell out of it. All 3 of us have seen it. All 3 of us are anxious to talk about it, and clearly we're anxious to see what everybody else felt about it. So
I will completely ruin it for you.
If you do not want this movie spoiled, just go ahead and click that little...
Bruce Willis is a ghost. Sorry, wrong movie. Wrong movie.
So go ahead and stop listening right now, because we are going to ruin everything. So, The Last Jedi. A lot of build-up. I tried to avoid a lot of the comments and things online, because I think I told you guys before when Force Awakens came out, I had tried to avoid a lot of the multimedia, internet stuff or whatever, and still somebody made a comment in a non-Star Wars related post and ruined the first movie for me.
I saw that.
Oh my God.
A big trivia game that's gotten started like the past week or two called HQ Trivia, where it's on your phone. It's like Jeopardy on your phone. Mm-hmm. And so like 3 o'clock Eastern time and 9 o'clock Eastern time, they'll do trivia games where you like have to answer, and it's all live. It's live on your phone. Mm-hmm. And in the chat, you can just see spoilers for Star Wars.
Oh my God!
Immediately,
I would kill everyone on that.
I don't understand what the mentality is behind the people who want to spoil the movie for you.
They're trolls.
Yeah,
They're just trolls.
I don't understand
they have no life.
What joy? Because the thing is that they post the comments out there in the interweb, and they don't get to see the look of disgust on your face or the anger.
Just have
from
a sick
yelling.
image in their head, in their mom's basement, basically just they are satisfied with whatever the outcome is.
You managed to go into it unspoiled. Mike, you saw it yesterday.
Unspoiled, yeah.
Unspoiled? Okay.
Unspoiled. Completely unspoiled.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but I was very lucky. I got to see it Wednesday night.
Good for you.
So I did manage. I did that because I said there's no way I'm going to be able to make it through the weekend without getting it spoiled. Like, there's no possible way this happens.
That's awesome. Well, there's got to be some fringe benefits for working in the theater business.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, the fringe benefits went away because I had to go out of town on Star Wars weekend because of some minor emergencies across the state. So that was why I was out of town for Friday and Saturday.
Still, but you got to miss the crowds, and that was good. And then I went yesterday, which was Monday matinee. It was 10:30 showing, and I actually watched it in 3D. I didn't necessarily want to watch it in 3D, but that was the time that came up as I was coming back into town from work. I'm like, it's 10:15. I can go into the 10 o'clock showing, maybe catch the beginning, or go to do the 3D at 10:30 for an extra couple bucks. You know what? I'm not buying popcorn. Let's do it. So threw the extra money at the 3D glasses.
Coming out of the hot dog budget.
I gotta say, I don't regret it. I saw Godzilla in 3D, and I saw one other movie in 3D. I can't remember what it was, and it wasn't horrible. The 3D doesn't make you feel all disjointed and that kind of stuff, and it doesn't make it obvious where they try to shove things in your face and make it feel like you're totally in a 3D experience kind of thing.
I don't think I've seen a 3D movie since Tron Legacy.
Really?
I think Avatar was the last 3D.
I did see Avatar in 3D, but I think Tron, which was the last 3D movie that I saw. I'm not a fan of 3D. I will avoid it at all costs.
I do like the D-Box though. For certain
D-Box
movies.
is good. Yeah.
What is
certain
D-Box?
movies?
D-Box are the seats that move in time with the movie.
The action.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty
I saw
cool.
there's a movie called Act of Valor that was filmed with real Navy SEALs.
Oh yeah.
And good movie, entertaining movie, but the best D-Box movie I've ever seen because just the way that they move, the way that they program the seats to move. Like when they jump out of planes. They buffet the seats so you feel like you're being, the wind is rushing past you and everything. Like it's a great movie to see in D-Box. My favorite D-Box movie I've seen.
Yeah, I've only seen one, and it was actually The Force Awakens.
Really?
In D-Box, yeah. It was pretty cool. I mean, some of the stuff's kind of stupid, like, when they're having the lightsaber fights and stuff, like you're moving your seat back and forth. But when they're like flying in the Millennium Falcon and stuff like that, it's pretty cool because, you feel like you're floating.
Fast and Furious movies
and that
also
was cool.
very, very good to see.
I bet that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Anyway, we were talking.
All right.
We're talking around the subject. We're talking.
Let's fucking spoil this.
Let's get down to brass tacks.
All
Gentlemen.
right. So to start with, let's start off with our initial impressions of the movie, and then we'll delve deeper into the things. Mikey, unspoiled, walk in, watch the movie, come out. What'd you think?
Well, I want to say I was a bit distracted, first of all, because I had these two little high school girls next to me that were the only ones in the theater talking, taking pictures of the screen throughout the whole movie. And but the parts that I did catch, very, very impressed. And still a little confused as to who Rey's parents might be. I thought they might have spoiled it. They kind of did, but did not. They didn't really say what her lineage is, or how is she a Jedi? Was she a new breed or?
I mean, Kylo Ren told her what her parents were,
right? Yeah,
but I don't know that is really truthful. You can't.
You don't know.
You can't take it.
And I thought one of the things that this movie did that I liked was, they took it away from being a lineage thing. Like you didn't have to be born to people who were Jedis or whatever. It's just anybody can really have an affinity for the Force, because you saw the kid at the very end of the movie.
Yeah, who the hell is he?
And it turns he's probably the same as Rey. He's probably just nobody, And in The Force Awakens, Rey says, "I'm nobody." That was like a big line that was in the trailer. I remember.
Well, it was a big line from the second movie is that Kylo Ren said, "Your parents were junk traders. They traded you for alcohol.
Right.
You're not even supposed to be in the story."
Yeah.
He literally said that you're not supposed
which
to be
I did like, because one of the things I think I've disliked about Star Wars is the way that it turned into very much like a family drama, sort of a dynastic struggle, where Luke is Darth Vader's son, and then Leia is Darth Vader's daughter, and it sort of goes back and forth where you just say, all right, well, I'm just tired of this. Like, who cares? Like, you know, if it was just this, basically just a family struggle, you know, you want to see like the big sort of galaxy changing fights. That being said, I hated this movie.
Really?
I
shit.
did not like it at all. I'm a, you know, full confession. I am an absolute Star Wars nerd going back to my youth. Big Star Wars fan. You know, I thought Force Awakens was okay. You know, like it was a perfectly entertaining movie. Didn't really think it didn't really measure up to, I think, the original trilogy. And I was very much excited about this movie. Was very excited to see it. And I just sort of, as the movie went on, my face was dropping as I watched more of the movie. I became more and more disappointed as the movie went on. So, Cheyenne, what did you think of it?
Well, I don't feel the same way you do. I grew up a huge Star Wars nerd myself. Just big fan of it. I read a lot of fan fiction, and there's a lot of fiction that happened after Return of the Jedi that they're not using within, you know, for the storylines and that kind of stuff. Because when Disney bought Star Wars, they said all this fan fiction that was created afterward, explaining, you know, how Han and
the
Han
expanded
and Leia
universe.
got married, the expanded universe. They took all of it out except for Star Wars Rebels. That was going to be integrated into their universe somehow. And then there was one other thing, a couple other things that they were going to keep. But other than that, they were just pushing everything, you know, out the window. So it left an open canvas to basically do anything. It didn't have to be a Skywalker legacy, and that's what it's turning into. Is you've got one Skywalker solo hybrid that, you know, is strong, but he's dark and he's conflicted. But Rey doesn't have any connection. If you think about back to like the Jedi Council and all the Jedis that were fighting in the prequel movies, none of them were Skywalkers. Those were all different races and different people who were Jedis, and I love that. And I would like to see more Jedi legacy kind of stuff. And I certainly would like to know more about the Knights of Ren, which Kylo has taken his you know, uniform and everything from, because he's not a Sith. He's Knights of Ren, and they have not explained that at all whatsoever. How is it that Snoke got to him while he was training with Luke? There was no explanation of that either. So I'm just really curious how this.
I will say I think
all
that was
plays out.
implied by the fact that they introduced something I was not a fan of, which is the long distance Skyping or FaceTiming that Rey and
Oh my god! I was going to ask what was that all
yeah,
about?
like I did not like get that at all. It's been sort of implied in Star Wars movies past. I think in Empire Strikes Back, like Luke knows that like Leia and Han are getting tortured by Darth Vader. He sort of gets like a feeling about that, but he's not like directly seeing them getting tortured. But that was kind of weird. But I think that's probably how Snoke ended up talking to Kylo Ren, was like long distance, sort of appearing to him in sort of these Force.
See, that would make sense because he was, you know, connecting the two of them.
Yeah.
And how the hell he connected the two of them, but didn't realize that Luke Skywalker was with Rey. I don't get that part. But
well, and that's that. I'll say this. So I mean, I'm the one who didn't like the movie, so I'll just say some of my beefs real quick with this. One, plot, like. There were some plotting decisions there that I did not understand at all. Specifically, I'll say the one where Finn and Rose have to go to, that was her name, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Where they have got to go to that planet.
The casino to find
there's this one guy. He's the one guy who can do this. And they go there, they get arrested, they get thrown in jail. And it's like, oh yeah, there's this other guy. And they're like, that's fine. We'll just take him. You know, like what if in Empire Strikes Back, Han Solo is like, oh yeah, I know this guy Lando. We'll go visit him and he can help us out. And they go there and the guy in Cloud City says, oh yeah, Lando, he put in his 2 weeks, but I can help you out. You know, like, I mean, come on. Like, what are you going to do? I mean, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever why they would trust this guy who they know nothing about. And they've been told, like, there's this one guy who can do it. And they're like, oh, well, there's this other guy. Yeah, he's fine. It's fine. Yeah, we'll go take him. And of course he betrays them. Right. That whole plot of them trying to, you know, get on the Star Destroyer and disable the tracking device or whatever, that's completely pointless. Like, it doesn't work at all. They go to find the one guy who can do it. They don't find that one guy, so they take another guy who they were in a jail cell with. They take him there. He ends up betraying them and betraying their whole plan to escape to this planet. You know, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I thought that was essentially like 20 to 30 minutes of the movie. To me, it was like completely wasted. Like, it made no sense whatsoever why they would do that, because ultimately it was inconsequential. And I'll say the other thing that I didn't like as far as the plot was the decision of whatever Laura Dern's character was, the lady with the purple hair.
Yeah.
Of her decision not to tell Poe what the hell is going on, because he's like trying to do a mutiny and everything like this, just because she won't tell him, hey, by the way, our plan is to try and escape to this planet. Like, at that point, he would have been like, oh yeah, sure, that makes sense. Let's do that. And instead, he's trying to incite a mutiny and do all this crazy stuff. It's like, it doesn't, I mean, again, it's like, there's all this plot in the movie. And again, that's like 15, 20 minutes worth of plot. You could have cut out if there just would have been communication between all the characters. It reminds me of something I heard once about how every plot from Seinfeld or Friends in the 90s would be resolved in 30 seconds if people just had cell phones. It's essentially that. If these people would just talk to each other, then you wouldn't have all this, like this 2.5 hour long movie. So I would say that would be gripe number one with that.
Oh boy, here we go.
Can I address gripe number one, since you obviously have a lot
please,
to
yeah, please go. There's only one more gripe.
Okay, I think I want to tackle this while it's still fresh on our listeners' minds and mine as well. So with the Finn and Rose side adventure, I thought it would have been interesting if the guy who was at the table, the one who had the little thing on his lapel, the one who was supposed to be the one they made up with, if he had been the one who had been thrown into jail because he had overextended himself and this and whatever, and he still had the brooch and was all beat up or whatever because he, was cheating or whatever, that would make sense. That would have totally resolved all of that. Yeah, that would have completely resolved all that. We have no idea who this guy with the brooch on his jacket was.
And even all you have to do is like have Benicio del Toro's character like overhear them talking about looking for a guy with a rose on his jacket. And he could have been like, oh, he could have like stolen the lapel pin and put it on him. And then, okay, that makes sense within the universe. Like he sort of tricked them into looking for him. But it's like, why would you? I just don't understand why they're just like, oh, well, we couldn't find this one guy. So yeah, you'll do. Yeah, you're fine. We'll go ahead and we'll trust you with.
Or he cracked like one code. He got them out of the cell or whatever. I mean,
he was.
That was like, oh, he's magical. No, I don't know about that.
Yeah, to me that was like a completely wasted plot. I did not understand that at all.
I get that. And then with the general, you're right. I mean, Poe didn't need to have a dang mutiny to try to get his way or whatever. They should just. I mean, there's only 400 of them left at this point, and they're trying to slowly run away from the First Order.
And one of the things,
what have you got to lose? Where is he going to tell the people that they're going to this planet? It's like,
one of the things that I've heard, like the one defense I've heard of that is like, oh well, she, why would she tell him? He's just some guy who got demoted,
right?
And it's like, well, there's nobody left. You got like one ship full of people, and he's still an important character because he's in charge of all the fighter pilots. Like he's still an important character. Like he would still know. Like if we were in real life or whatever, like he's definitely in the meeting where she's telling all of her second in commands like what's going on. Mm-hmm. But my other issue was with the depiction of the Force in this movie. Because all of a sudden, people are doing all these things that they could not previously do in all these other movies. Specifically, Luke, again, long distance Skyping himself across the galaxy, to sort of appear to Kylo Ren and Leia and do all this, to do all this stuff. And to me, okay, fine. If you want to do that, I think I would have been fine with that. Like, okay, it's something that nobody's ever done before, but it's clear that it takes a lot out of him. But then, like, okay, he somehow tricks Kylo Ren, and I'm thinking, oh, great, he tricked Kylo Ren. He did this great delaying tactic, and now all the Resistance can escape. And then he dies.
And then he's dead. Yep. It uses a lot of energy.
Like, why is it better that he did this, like, again, like this long distance FaceTime?
He had said that he had gone to the island to die. That was specifically stated by him in the middle of the movie.
I don't see why it's better for him to die on the island than for him to hop on a ship and like show up on this planet. And
well, initially you thought he was blown to pieces when they unleashed on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that what they're trying to get across was, one, that he had learned things from the old Jedi tomes that were inside the tree.
But he said he never read them.
Yeah.
Because Yoda said, have you ever read the Jedi texts? And he goes,
Well, he
dog
he
ate my
stammered.
homework.
He stammered. Not good reads, but I'm sure that he did. But it shows how powerful of a Jedi that he was.
And
to be
apparently Rey
able to
took
do that.
those texts, like stole the
Yeah,
text,
she stole them there on a Millennium Falcon.
which I missed that in the movie. Like I didn't pick that up.
Yeah, I didn't see that either.
I didn't see
Somebody
when it
said
happened,
after-
but
after the
I
movie.
can totally see her stealing
But
that
like,
stuff.
I feel like the movie would have been much more satisfying if Rey had shown up on the planet and been killed a la Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original Star Wars movie. If he'd been killed in person, I would have been fine with it. But I don't see the point in having him do this whole thing where he goes across the galaxy to project a vision of himself, and then Kylo Ren, he kind of gets one over on Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren's like, I've been wasting all my time with this guy who's not even here, and then he dies anyway. Like, it just sort of, to me, it was like, well, then what is the
What the
point?
fuck?
I
Yeah,
think part of it might have been the timing of the movie as well, because would he have been able to get that old ass X-wing fighter that was in the water that they showed? Would he have been able to take that, get it operational, and get where he needed to across the galaxy in time to be able to do that? He probably said, "No, I'm going to go ahead and project myself Skype style." And then it took everything out of him, but he fought, valiantly. He did it well, and then he disappeared like a la Obi-Wan Kenobi. So we're going to see him in the third movie, and I think that's going to play a more pivotal role as him being a mentor in that respect than for him to actually physically be fighting.
Especially now that we've seen that like the dead Jedi can affect the physical world, because you saw Yoda light the tree on fire. So I do think we'll see that. And I was waiting for that scene. It's weird. There's in both The Force Awakens and this in The Last Jedi, there were scenes where I was like, "Oh, this is going to happen," that never happened. And in this movie, it was seeing the X-wing in the water. And I thought there was going to be sort of a recreation of the scene from Empire Strikes Back where he lifts it out of the water, or Rey did it, as sort of a test. I thought that might happen. And in The Force Awakens, and I still maintain that this would have made The Force Awakens a better movie, which is when after Kylo Ren is fighting Finn in the forest, and the lightsaber is just sort of like in the snow, and Rey's reaching out like she's going to reach for the lightsaber and pull it to her. I still think it would have been a much better movie if that had, like, the lightsaber flies past Rey and ends up in the hands of Luke Skywalker, because at that point they had sort of, R2-D2 had woken up and had told them their location. Like, I still think that would have made a much better movie. But
It would have hastened things along, but it was just showing he was showing that he put in self-imposed exile. He had not forgiven himself for causing the things. And now here's what I'm curious about in the next movie, because they talked about Kylo Ren took a few of the Jedi pupils and disappeared. Where are the other Jedi pupils?
well, they're the Knights of Ren, I think.
Right, but I mean, where are the Knights of Ren? Where are they?
Chilling.
Because all we've seen is Kylo.
Yeah, they're kind of just.
We need to see this cat.
He's now the
They're on
supreme.
PTO. Like, because these whole two movies, they've taken over the course of like a week.
It's like been
in a
very
very
quick.
compressed time frame. So they're on vacation.
Well, not a week. I would say probably like a month, no more than a month.
Yeah.
Because she went to go train with him, and she didn't train for that long, but it wasn't a week.
I don't know. It might not have even been a week, because the whole thing is that it takes place immediately after The Force Awakens, because they're at the planet that the Rebel base is on, and then they're escaping, and they're like, well, we only have 18 hours of fuel. So it might not have even been a week. Like, it might have been like 2 days.
A day, yeah.
See, that's the thing. The timing of all of this just really, the timeline of this movie really threw me off. But I liked the story. I thought it was fun that Luke was very arm's length, and Rey was just being persistent and trying to find out stuff on her own. And then she's dabbling on going down this dark hole that she wasn't supposed to go down, but doesn't seem to be any ill effects or whatever, because she really hasn't decided her destiny, and she's older too. But that's the thing that they've had problems with, is the Jedis, when they're older, they're hard to train and keep them from gravitating to the dark side, because they have so much doubt and other things, issues going on inside. So I thought it was interesting that Ben Solo killed Snoke, and
That was good. I
that
like
fight.
that.
I was like, oh my god,
Yeah,
is he
good.
turning?
That was great.
Is he going to go good?
Yeah,
And also, I've
just wants to take
I've talked
over.
a lot of shit about this movie, but I'll say there's a lot of little moments that I really liked. And I'll say specifically, I liked Rey's narration about the Force when she's sort of the first time she's reaching out. I really like that. And I really liked the thing with her parents, where her parents are just nobody. You know, like I thought that was really good.
Well, you can't just be from nowhere. Where are you from?
No, see, I was fine with that. Like everybody had all this crazy.
Anakin was from nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was
Star
funny
Wars
how
from
it's like, oh, I'm from Jakku. All right, well, that's basically.
Yeah, like
nowhere.
I'm happy that she wasn't like, you know, Obi-Wan Kenobi's like grandniece or like Palpatine, like a female clone of Palpatine.
I had thought
Like,
for
I
sure
was fine
for
with
2 years I've been thinking she was going to be Obi-Wan in the Obi-Wan lineage. And,
Yeah, I think it was because the English accent.
Yeah, and nothing.
I'm absolutely convinced that Finn is the son of Lando Calrissian, and I'm gonna hold. To
I
that.
can't believe we got a scene on a casino planet without
Didn't
Lando.
see Lando. Yeah, I was like, I thought for
He's a
sure.
gambler. He's a
I
scoundrel.
thought for sure he was gonna be in there.
I liked that. I liked they killed off Snoke.
They killed a lot of people, dude.
Killed a lot of people.
They
just went.
They pulled Game of
haywire.
Thrones. They went Game of
I'll
Thrones
say
here.
this: they should have killed off Finn too. He should have died in the kamikaze raid, like when he was
just about to
He's gonna
die.
pull a Randy Quaid and fly into the space cannon like Randy Quaid in Independence Day. When he's gonna do that, I thought he should have died there. I thought that was kind of
I thought that was
a Deus Ex Machina.
Well, to me, that showed his definition of purpose, and that he really finally believed in something.
I did buy that though. I did buy completely that he was gonna die.
Oh yeah,
I thought he was going in, sacrificing his life.
It was like the end of Toy Story 3. Like I really thought they were gonna incinerate all the toys. Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
And then I'll say one last thing that I did really like about the movie is the lightsaber fight with Ben Solo and Rey.
Oh yeah,
like when they fight.
When they're
together.
when they're going for
that great moment where she tosses him the lightsaber and he just turns it on for a split second to like impale his head.
Yeah,
that was awesome. The whole scene, that was probably the best lightsaber fight scene I think in any of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah, that was really cool. It was very meaningful, so it was really impactful and that kind of stuff. So
because you really did think like maybe he was gonna. I don't know if you thought he was gonna maybe turn good, but like he was gonna.
I thought he was. I thought he was going that way. But sure. He's like
he's very emotional character. And,
he is.
I don't see him being a leader.
He's unstable. He's unpredictable. That's what I like about him, is that you're not really sure what he's doing from moment to moment. He is a very conflicted character, and you don't really know what he's going to do.
I will say Kylo Ren is absolutely the guy you're playing like Call of Duty with who gets way too into it and like gets really pissed off. That's Kylo Ren right there. Like I played a lot of
Unleash the cannon.
I
played a lot of multiplayer with guys exactly like that.
So he's the Star Wars equivalent of Orion Jensen, is what I'm hearing.
Yes! More. Just keep going.
All right.
I think we're done.
Do you have any final thoughts about Star Wars?
on Star Wars?
I
feel
can't
like
wait.
I talk too much. So
Can't wait to see it for a second
Well, you obviously
time.
had to get some stuff out, but Mike, do you have any final?
I'll be honest. Me, like what I've been saying right now has been me just like pacing around my house
Just talking to yourself.
for like 5 days, being angry.
The fuck am I going to tell?
About this movie because everybody loves it, and I'm the one guy who doesn't like it.
It's okay. I mean, you know what? That's your prerogative, man.
You gotta have that one guy. You know, it just happens to be you.
I feel good. This is like it's like AA. You know.
Like I said, man.
Hello, my name's Jeff, and I have a Star Wars problem.
Well, part of it is you may be spoiled with if you were like me, reading the fan fiction afterward and expecting things to go a certain way or characters to develop a certain way and that kind of stuff, and then all that's just been taken away. And unfortunately, we're not able to delve into a lot of the fun, the great. They had some really great storylines, especially after the Empire or the Emperor was destroyed. The Empire was still existing. There were officers all over the place. The rebels had to go and fight and clear those people out.
My favorite expanded universe series was the X-Wing books, which took place 3 years after Return of the Jedi. And at that point, you think, "Oh, the Emperor's dead. It's everything's good." But no, the Empire is still alive, and it's sort of about the struggle that you have between the Empire is not the monolith that it once was, but sort of the struggle between these two entities that are trying to establish supremacy in the galaxy. Mm-hmm. And I like that very much because well, for one, there's no Jedi. It's essentially just sort of soldiers fighting. But yeah, very If anybody is interested in that, I highly recommend the X-Wing series. by Michael Stackpole and Aaron Alston.
And he didn't even have to look those up. He knew.
He did not.
My favorite books were I like the Truce of Bakura was the book immediately following after Return of the Jedi.
That's pretty good.
And then the one after that was the Courtship of Princess Leia.
Awful, terrible, bad. Wait, sorry. Let me. Wrong.
Pretty much the only book I would read start to end is Kama Sutra. That's about it.
Also in the expanded universe.
Yes.
Expand your minds.
Very.
That was a bounty hunter,
expansive.
right? Kama Sutra. Yeah.
A lot of action in that one.
Sounds-
A lot of action in those books.
Sounds like a Star Wars character.
Yeah, it does.
Kama
It does.
Sutra.
In the wake of Boba Fett's death, here comes Kama Sutra.
By the way,
Spoiler.
in the expanded
No pun
universe,
intended.
in the expanded universe, Boba Fett still alive.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Expanded Universe, he had a whole trilogy based on him finally getting out of the Sarlacc pit and exacting revenge and stuff.
A great story with old Boba Fett and old Han Solo, like 20 years after Return of the Jedi. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I had heard about that. I hadn't read it, but they ended up teaming up, and I think Boba Fett ended up having a daughter or something like that who became a bounty hunter.
No, I missed that completely. Yeah.
I
think you made that up.
Go to the Wikipedia and look up Boba Fett and post Return of the Jedi. But apparently he actually turned good and
no, in the story that I read, he's still an asshole. And
he watched his dad
story
die in front of him.
he's still cool as shit is the thing. But I think Han Solo gets tired. Like at this point he's married and has kids with Leia, and he's like tired. He's afraid he's become like a boring dad. So he decides, like, when Leia's on vacation or like a diplomatic mission or whatever, and he decides that he wants to smuggle something again. And so he goes to this place where he like fought as a teenager in like a gladiator match, and decides that he wants to smuggle something, and Boba Fett finds out about it and goes there to kill him because he's still pissed at him for the whole thing with Jabba the Hutt. And they have like a fight scene there. It's a really good story. Highly recommend it. No daughters or anything like that. Like,
Go ahead and Google that later on the Wikipedia. So those of you who haven't seen The Last Jedi, now you don't need to. If you're the stubborn type that said, you know what, I'm not going to spend $12. I'm going to wait for the DVD.
I do want to meet like the one person who didn't want to see the movie and instead wanted to listen to us talk about it.
Well, out of our tens of listeners, I highly doubt any of them are still listening at this point. I don't know how many of our fans are Star Wars fans, but yes, thank you for
Marky, it's late. Go to bed.
Yeah. You're the one.
Ask your dad.
You're the one.
Ask your dad to take you to the movie anyway.
God damn it.
That concludes our show today. I would like to thank tonight's sponsors, Extreme Martial Arts, Dr. Sean Hansen, Chiropractor to the Stars at Tarpon Total Healthcare, and Shock Top Brewing. For more information on us, visit our Facebook page, Misfit Boys Hockey with a Z. Thank you for listening, and may the Force be with you, always.